All right. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make an announcement over on my original Big Discussions 76 channel, and then I'll say a few words, and then I will start this discussion with complex design. He's backstage, so I'm looking forward to learning something, and I hope you all are as well. So give me a second. Let me share this over on the original channel in case folks want to come over and learn something as well. Let's see. Fine. Going to talk some technology. All right. I just made the announcement over there. So I just want to make a quick, let me give my opening blurb. Everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. First of all, please like this stream. And if you're watching on the playback, please like this video. Please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Today is January, looks like the 16th. This year is already flying by. This weekend is a doubleheader on this channel. Yesterday I had Nicole Ali over, and we were talking, um, COVID. So we were in the biological space. And today we're going to go over into the technology space with complex design. Before I bring him up, just a little advertising here. For those of you who don't know, I write, and I have two blogs, and I'm starting a newsletter to consolidate my messaging. I think last year I was using Google FeedBurner for my first blog, and then Google took away the subscribe function. So, but I'm getting so much content, so much contributed content from a customer on my first blog now that getting all those updates will probably be annoying for subscribers. So I think with the newsletter, I'm gonna just kind of handpick things that I think um, subs would like to read: business stuff, technology stuff, and other stuff that I think people will want to see. And I'm working on a book project as well, so I have a bunch of different things going on. So the newsletter, the link is in the description box below. This is it right here. I want to gather a few more names and start sending it out uh, at the end of this month. I have this 2-paragraph greeting here. And then right there at the bottom, there's the subscribe button. I promise that your information will be respected and not abused or sold. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to bring complex design up. For those of you who don't know, I know complex design from the Black Brain Trust. I believe he's in the technology sphere. And we've been talking about huddling up for a while now. Things got a little busy toward the end of 2021, but here we are in 2022. So Complex is here. So I'm going to bring him up, and he's going to talk to us about his company, Pacific Rides, and also the coming technologies that he sees on the horizon. So with that, what's going on, Complex?
Hey man, how's it going, Dr. Dunbar?
Good yourself?
Not too bad, man. I said I was kind of rushing around last minute.
Yeah, I was out running around too. And then I, came back and kind of settling in here. So here we are.
Yeah, I wanted to just make sure I was, in and ready for this one.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming over. Like I said, I have to do a better job linking up with the Brain Trust because you guys have your finger on the pulse of the technologies and things that are coming,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important for all of us to keep in mind for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to say a few words just quickly before we jump in the Q&A about the Brain Trust?
Yeah. Well, the Brain Trust. We officially formed on April 20th of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and then to say for the 2 years prior to that, we were active. Like the people who kind of coalesced to become that. We were active in a lot of the Coliseum conversations on BGS's platform some years back. And, what we wanted to do was just sort of, we kind of fundamentally thought that, YouTube could be used for a multitude of things.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't necessarily have to be sort of relationship driven per se.
Mm-hmm.
Given that we're black men, that doesn't necessarily, I know, okay, black men aren't a monolith in the sense that that that's not all our focal point,
Yes.
right? And so because of what we are engaged in terms of like our professions and our own companies and stuff like that, we kind of saw what was coming on the horizon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was going to be driving a lot of the stuff. So that also encompasses like business and politics and geopolitics and all these different things because business and politics, right, like they kind of are intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
And technology is the driver of it all, right? See,
Mm-hmm.
so how we see the actual shift in our third dimensional or like in our environment largely has to do with developments that companies were doing some years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was kind of more of our focal point. So we kind of gave it a framework called Manosphere 3.0. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're the originators. Like that whole concept, man, that was us. Like that was like that was Mike V's um that was his way of framing the various waves of the manosphere, right? So you had the first wave, and then you had the second wave, which was what they call the founders and all those guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the third wave was based on all of this right here, right? The third wave had to be a next step, right? So 3.0, and there's a whole actually here I'll do this. I'll bring it up and share it with you here because I wrote the manifesto for it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was like I was the one who kind of wrote it up as sort of like um, our position, right? What we were about. So here we go. Do you mind if I share this?
Go ahead. I think
Or
did I
you
give
can.
it over to you or are you
I think I can do it. Let me see
able to
here.
ask the
Let
permit
me
for permission and then I grant it?
share. I just want to share a tab. And it was this one. Share. You guys see it?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. So this is pretty much what Manosphere 3.0 was all about, right? Manosphere 3.0 is social media, social political construct wholly curated by the Black Brain Trust. The basis is built upon the tenets of technocratic thought and ideals, globalization, domestic politics, technology, blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI automation, etc., economics, health, as well as relatable social commentary, so sapiosexualism. Intellectualism, critical thought, problem solving, application, and business modeling are the mechanisms through which concepts are transmitted. Mature, intelligent dialogue is the order of the day, along with a little highbrow humor, because we like to get our joke on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much why we're here, right? That's the whole reason why we're here. So just for those listening, that's what Manosphere 3.0 is, just so you guys know.
Okay.
And from there, um, companies like Pacific Rides were formed because I met my business partner. He's one of the founding members, Anti-Gravity 74. Shout outs to him. We linked up together in the Manosphere back in late 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of companies. Pacific Rise is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the Q&A.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, I've listened to you talk on other people's channels. It sounds like you're a West Coast guy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Born and raised in LA.
Okay.
Well,
All
kind
right.
of all over SoCal. Born in LA, Hollywood, and then just all over, man. Been all over SoCal and Central Cal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was all of your schooling out in California?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to Caltech or UCLA or USC or
No, man. Oddly enough, dude, I dropped out of college at 17.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I sure did, man. You know what, man? I don't know. It was kind of like 13th grade to me.
Okay.
And I don't know. Early on, I understood that I could make way more money, like in the long term, like having a business or owning a company than, going to college and getting a job. It just kind of did not make sense to me. So,
Okay.
I dropped out, and then my first venue really was music. I'm a DJ, right? That's
Okay.
kind of like my whole. I was a DJ, promoted events, but then I also did independent distribution and all that, right? So this is kind of where I started getting into the whole understanding supply chain and global business, right? Because I had manufacturing plant uh, like in north part of LA County, and they did production runs for all of the major labels, right? The big companies like Universal and Sony and all these guys, right?
Hmm.
And so the first thing I was able to do was instead of using brokers and stuff, I went directly to the plant and then became a broker. And then from there, I had one of the first like vinyl vinyl record stores on. It was like us, and it was on hiphopelements.com. This goes back to like 1999.
Hmm.
Okay. And there was us, Hip Hop Site, Underground Hip Hop, Sandbox Automatic, Dusty Groove, and Hip Hop Infinity. Those are we were all like the main websites on the net at the time, selling like independent vinyl records, hip hop, jazz, funk, soul. I sold original pressings as well as like new releases and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Then I got into like CD manufacturing. Then I started selling to other stores, and that's how I started. And my stores were like global. And then so I would like get lists from the stores. Hey, can you find these for me? Like, yeah. And then I go out on my record convention stuff, pull out my list. I'm all digging through records. I spent all day, man, hundreds of thousands of dollars and stuff. Not hundreds, hundreds, and then like thousands. So like sometimes it was hundreds, sometimes it might be thousands, but not hundreds of thousands. I wasn't balling like that. And then I would get those and then box them up, man. And some of those records I get for like a buck, $2. They were paying me like $30 per record because it was like
Wow.
an in-demand record. It was a rarity. So I started to understand commodity, right? It started teaching me a lot about how global business works, like what other areas of the world value things, you know, and then being kind of like a point or a connection point where things flow through you, various things throughout, distribution, pressing. Um, it really just kind of all depended on the situation, right? And that was like my first foray into this type of stuff because it was all done on the web. This is Web 1.0 days. Um, and dude, it was like that was the first come up, the first successful business. And I'm saying I didn't go to I just one of the things I kind of preach sometimes, man, is just like just throw yourself into the fire.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just that just may have to be the mode or the mechanism. Now, I wouldn't suggest everybody do that because you may exactly not be may not be built for that, but that's how I did it, man. I just got into it. So that was sort of like how I got into this whole thing of global business and all that, and then it just sort of evolved.
Okay. Wow. So you just said a mouthful. So let's go back. So
Yeah.
and I think this is important because and one of someone who follows my content is very very adamant about um Dr. Dunbar. We shouldn't be telling people that they don't need to get degrees. We
Hmm.
need more, Black men getting degrees.
Hmm.
But there are also gentlemen out there like yourself who um, deviated from that track, went straight into the business realm, and have done well. So, what were you before you deviated from that realm? Were you studying a technology?
Uh, no, man, I'm kind of always just been. I've always just kind of always been around computers.
Okay.
Like my first computer, I got like in 1982. It was an Apple IIc. I was like 5 years old,
Hmm.
right? And then I used to like build RC cars and stuff when I was young,
Hmm.
right? So that taught me about electronics and components and stuff, right? Putting RC motor controllers, batteries, servos, stuff like that, right? Um, and then I used to always just kind of take shit apart. Like I would just get a screwdriver, take stuff apart, look at it, pull things apart, put it back. Learned how to solder. So I'm kind of like self-taught in a lot of ways. Well, and a lot. I don't have any certifications or anything. I don't have any
Okay.
degrees. I'm kind of self-taught. So I was just kind of been like a person that like once I get interested in something, I'll just, dude, I want to know everything about it and how it works. So that's kind of always been like how my brain works. So
Okay. So it sounds
yeah.
like you were very much a hands-on design and build guy. Um,
Mhm.
right. Good with tools, taking things apart, putting things back together. A Tony Stark type.
I wish.
Okay. So just to recap, so you went into business through your DJ. So you went into business through.
Yeah, it was like first foray was into music. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
And you got um by way of that you were conducting
Yeah, I kind
commerce
of got thrown into
records.
tech through that, right? Because we did
Okay.
the website, and at the time, you were building websites in Dreamweaver, and you had to like hand code um, they had like these real sort of base code sets, and then you had to like kind of build a store out of all that, right? So it was me and
Yes.
my buddy, and he was a code nerd. I wasn't, so I could do like HTML type stuff, right? Design and all that.
Hmm.
I was okay with that. He was the dude that was like back end, right? PHP and all that stuff. Building before we went to 2.0, where everything became database driven, right? In terms of like the websites and all that.
Hmm.
Uh, it 1.0, it was like you had to build a database, right? And then tree your pages to it, right? It was a whole different way you had to build websites at the time. So I kind of made my way into that through there, and then later I started building studio rigs for for other producers because I had like a Mac set up. I had gotten this custom built Mac. Well, it was a kind of a rare Mac. It was a dual 867 G4 um, tower. And at the time, this is when Mac was still using IBM chips. And they had only sold but so many of these dual 867s. And
Hmm.
because of that chipset, the way it was configured, it had very distinct advantages. Like if you were running it as a studio build, right? And so there would be producers that would come by my pad and they'd be like, yo, like, what is this right here? And I was running like this weird setup with an M audio chip, and I had to go into the Unix terminal and start turning shit off, right? And so this is where I started getting into like configuring hardware. Like
Okay.
I'm saying, I just like, and I would always just say, fuck it, let me just like learn this shit because I didn't want to wait for somebody to, like, I don't know, man. I just be like, man, how the fuck do I set this stuff up? And I do it, and I plug my peripherals in, and I get on my turntables. Like, oh shit, it's working, right? And then I would write it down and remember how I did it. And then when somebody else wanted it, they would just go get it, and then I'd set it up for them, and they'd pay me.
Okay. So complex. So stop. So for those who don't know, a studio rig. What exactly is a studio rig?
Oh, just like like you're just basically like a computer. Like for example, I'm on the reason why I don't have a camera on the computer that I'm on because this is my sim rig. So
Yes.
it's basically the computer. It's like a bespoke computer that you use for something, right?
Yes.
So for this is my computer. I primarily use this for sim racing or just gaming. My daughter uses it for gaming too.
Okay.
And then first you have a studio rig, right? So that's a computer that you only use for studio production, right?
Hmm.
So those softwares are going to be like Pro Tools, uh, Logic, or you might be running like um, hmm, Ableton, or some of the newer stuff. I don't really follow the audio stuff too much anymore, but it's like basically a bespoke computer built for a specific application.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know that the when I hear the term rig, I think about an 18-wheeler.
Oh,
Um, but it has I guess it's a term that has multiple contexts.
yeah.
Um, okay, okay. So before I ask you that, so how did you get from there?
To where I'm at
No
now.
matter how windy the road is, this is educational because we're
Yeah,
talking about technology. We're talking about how to build businesses here. How
yeah.
did you get from there to Pacific Rides?
Holy shit! Oh my god. You ready for this one?
Sure, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Well, I was still doing the music thing.
Yes.
And this was okay. So basically, man, I was doing the music thing, and then my wife got cancer,
Okay.
right? And that was in 2012. And that was right after she gave birth to our daughter.
Okay.
So at the time, and I have to maybe dig it up, and I think yeah, our Bandcamp label is all still up. So we still have, actually, man, just if you go to my channel and then you go into the playlist and then look for A&R Digi Media, I have
Hmm.
like a ton of our releases up there, right? Because then
Hmm.
what was going on was everything was now shifting to this Web 3.0 platform, right? So now music was all digital, and we were just basically developing our digital music, uh, our digital music platform, so using like the SoundCloud, you're linking your Bandcamp, YouTube, all this, right? So now everything had shifted from 2.0 to 3.0, or it was coming into 3.0, where we are now in terms of music and everything.
Hmm.
So now everything was just done for the most part. Either it's done in studio, then it's just simply an upload to various platforms, tagging and blah, 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 right?
Hmm.
So now I became responsible for this type of stuff. But, when the cancer thing hit, I went to Chicago because that's where my wife was from. Um, and well, we didn't find out about the diagnosis till we went there to visit her family, and she fell ill, rushed her to the hospital one night, and then that's when they were like, "Look, we need to get do a biopsy ASAP," and all this, and it was just like, "What?" My daughter was only like 3, 4 months old, right? So there was a whole 3-year battle, and I was in Chicago at the time, and I was doing basically running the label. My partner was producing, and then things just kind of took a turn, and then I just dropped it, and then I never went back. Right?
Hmm.
I came back to California, and then all my friends were just like, "Yo, look, man, we want to pull you back into the mix," because now all my friends are like doing big time stuff. If you guys look up Adrian Young, right? That's literally
Hmm.
like a brother of mine, man. We grew up together. Yeah, got from 8th grade all the way on through, man. We did the music thing together, and he's doing big, big things right now. You can check out his label, Linear Labs.
Hmm.
He's him and Ali Shaheed Muhammad,
Yep.
uh, the DJ producer from A Tribe Called Quest, they basically are the brains behind Linear Labs, right? So they have a jazz outfit called the Midnight Hour,
Yep.
doing real big stuff. Did all the music for the Luke Cage soundtrack. Did all the scoring for the Luke Cage series on Netflix,
Yeah.
right? So, man, it's like over the time when I had stepped away, man, shit just blew up. But when I came back, I literally had no desire, you know. And so, basically, man, one day, and just as a backdrop, I kind of grew up as a motorsport junkie. I just loved great, cars,
Okay.
race cars and stuff. And when I was in my, my like late teens, 20s and stuff, in SoCal back in the day, like modding up Hondas and shit like that was a thing, right? Doing street races and all that.
Hmm.
So this is kind of where I first dipped my toes into racing, how albeit not in the most safest way,
Hmm.
but we were tearing motors apart, right? Building up motors, high comp motors, porting the heads, and doing motor builds and stuff like that, right? So I'm sitting in my room one day, man, and I'm just like sitting there bawling and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then something just told me, man, go to the indoor go-kart track. It's not that far away. And I don't know why. It was such a random thought. And so I went there and, I did some laps, man. I hadn't karted in years, but it was just all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, dude. Oh my God. I got to do this. And dude, all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is like sort of like my new purpose. I wanted, basically, I was become a race driver. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna become a race car driver. How about we do that? How about I just go ahead and just reinvent myself, because I'm not going back to that old life. I got to become somebody new. And so, um, long story short, uh, there was a shop that my mentor owned called Pacific Rides.
Mm-hmm.
It was a power sports shop in
Mm-hmm.
Chatsworth, California. And I wanted to get into karting, and I wanted to run and own my own race team.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into his shop just randomly one day, and there was a kart in there. And I pitched an idea to him. I said, look, man, um, if I like secure like a cart chassis, I was like, would you let me run a team out of your shop? Right. And then he did me one better. He goes, well, look, why don't you do this? He goes, I have an office right there. Why don't I just give you a job as a general manager, and then you run the team, and we'll work something out, man. Just, help me run this business. He's an older guy, right? So I came in, dude, and I started just, it was like my playground, right? It was like my playground, dude. And so I have like a whole YouTube channel called Two Flags Racing. If you guys look it up, it's me and my buddy Luke. Um, all of that shit that I did at that time, karting and all that stuff, all for like the 2.5, 3 years I was doing it, it's all on that channel. You can see all the races. I was, like my tent, the team, everything, man, all the struggles and shit. It's all like on Two Flags Racing, man. So fast forward to 2018, lease was up on the building. My boss is 65. He's like, look, man, I'm gonna just retire. He goes, and I don't want to renew the lease on this because they're trying to double it. And, I think it's time for me to retire. So he's like, man, just take Pacific Rise, take all the accounts, and just do something with it. I said, okay. So we shut the shop down. We liquidated everything. And then I inherited Pacific Rides. And then I went over to my partner, Nooks, and I said, hey, look, dude, we got a company. Now, during that time, there was a company called Ellipse, and I was one of their dealers. They had this lock that was Bluetooth technology based, right? See, so like let's just say you had a scooter or like one a gas moped, or he had a motorcycle even.
Mm-hmm.
You could use this lock, and what you could do is activate it from your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then a company called Lattice purchased them. Now, Lattice is in the IoT space. This is how I got into the IoT shit.
Okay.
So I get a call one day from the CTO of this company from Lattice, and he's like, "Hey, Ulysses, we know you were a client of Lattice, and we've recently acquired them, and so here's what we do." Now, ironically, and dude, that's what I'm saying. It's so weird how all this shit happened. So, ironically, at that moment, I had just taken a job with Bird Scooters. Okay, so if y'all don't know, Bird Scooters is literally like the biggest player in the micromobility space. Okay, so I took a job at Bird, and I became an IoT and tech tester and one of their head mechanics. As a contract, IoT tester and mechanic. And then I started working with Lattice, and they were doing the same thing. So I ended up kind of being a spy in a sense. I went into,
Okay.
I was working for Bird. I was learning every fucking thing that was going on in there. And then it was sort of like I had my own shit in development, and then I could kind of sort of relay certain things. And then after when the pandemic hit, basically in 2019, 2020 happened, basically Bird cut their contract with the city that I'm in. And then I started working for a company that that was contracted to do support for Apple. And then I became like a supervisor there. And yeah, that's how, dude. It's all crazy, man. That's
Okay. I
yeah.
think this is a good place to stop. First of all, everyone, if you're just coming in, please hit the like button. I don't have a super chat on this channel, so if you want to make a donation, if you like what you're hearing,
Yeah, please,
he's giving us Complex is giving us a lot of game and a lot of value here. My Cash App and PayPal are here.
please support.
Yeah, and I think this is important because I see Ray Alexander there in the chat. I know Ray is very bullish on going the degreed route, but I think we also need to highlight individuals who
Ray has very strong.
Went ahead and built an enterprise without going that route, such as Zuck and our tech giants. So Ray Alexander asks, Complex, were you initially a computer science or computer engineering major at the University of Southern California? So we already went over this, but you can answer that briefly.
At the University of Southern California, no. I never enrolled there or anything. Dude, I did like one semester at like Cal State Northridge. And then I did like maybe a couple other semesters at like, I think I did one at Pierce College and where that is LA Valley, man. Dude, I like at various times I tried to convince myself to go to school. And then I just couldn't. I was like, oh dude, no. I just was never that type of person. So no. Dude, I if at best I may have like finished 1 year of college. I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. But no, I never went there.
Okay, well there you have it, Ray Alexander. Again, if you're new coming in, just please hit that like button. Those are free. If you want to make a donation, my information is here.
Yeah, and salute to everybody. Because I wasn't even. Let me see. I just looked over at the comments. Royston. Yes, everybody.
Peace. Engineering Cannabis.
Engineering Cannabis. Peace, brother. I'll see him in the house too. Peace. Peace to everybody.
I think you started telling us about this, but tell us.
We can go more into specific rights now.
I read through your document. I read through kind of quickly, but I saw scooters. I saw the IoT in there somewhere. And so tell us some more about Pacific Rights. Tell us what you haven't told us.
Okay, so basically what ended up happening with all that, so that kind of brings us to today, right?
Yes.
So basically we have our own rideshare application. We also source our own bespoke vehicles produced in a factory in China, right? And our software runs right on top of that, the IoT that's installed at the factory. And then what we do is we then in turn provide these platforms turnkey to operators, right? So we're on the supply side, right? So there's other operators that I have in my network that let's just say they need, X amount of scooters, they need this, or they say somebody wants to go and launch something. Like they would come to me and then they'd say, well, I want this many and I want this and I'm going to do this. Okay. And then it shows up to them and then they put an app on their phone and then they're going to start just bing, 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 bing. And then everything's going to start coming online and be like, you're good to go. Go ahead and launch your fleet. Right. So we're in the space of now of providing these type of micro-mobility solutions like turnkey. And that's what we've done over 2020 and 2021 was really getting that together. That was a whole mess.
So Complex. So I want to stop just for context. So when we're talking about the IoT, everyone, you see the little image I have running there in the background.
Yep.
For the layperson, I put an article in the description box below from my blogging platform, my first blogging platform. But when you think of IoT, my understanding is you have machines talking. You have well, I'm not a tech guy, but you have an operating system or a computer somewhere driving everything. So can you break down how you guys are doing this? I know you said you guys had something operating on something in China. Can you?
Okay, so
that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, what the whole IoT thing is, IoT basically is Internet of Things, right? And we did maybe like a few weeks ago. It was like me, Engineering Cannabis, Mike V, Young Grizzly. We did a deep dive on this stuff
Mm-hmm.
about a few weeks ago. So I'll dig that up and I'll post a link. I don't know if
Okay.
I think I might be. I'm not sure if I can post.
If you say something in the chat, I'll make
All
you
right,
one.
let me see here, and I'll pull that up here before I forget.
If you're new coming in, please hit that like. Those are free.
Let's see here. Oh no, I can see. Yeah, let me do this. I can see that I'm not, and then I'll go over here and pull it up real quick. Because I think that one was, that one was like, how long did we do? That was like a 4-hour deep dive into IoT. Okay, hold on a second here.
Okay, I just modded you up.
All right, perfect. And then I'll copy this. And it was called All Things Internet of Things. So let me post that. And that's like a that's a heavy duty primer right there. Boom. All right, there he goes. So I'll kind of give you like a synopsis of what we dug real deep into over there.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's pretty much every type of device being connected, right, and being connected to a network, whether it's washing machines, scooters, e-bikes, gosh, you name it, cars, bots, security drones, and like I said, you see what you have there, right? That
Mm-hmm.
graphic back there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
basically everything is in a connected ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the back end, there's systems provided by companies like Oracle, AWS, and all of them that provide the server space, right, to have all of that stuff funneling through. I covered just on the last Tech Talk this company, Hellbiz, who's a micromobility operator based out of Italy. They're using Oracle's Symphony backend, right, to power all their stuff. Okay, all of the vehicles and stuff that are connected that could be triggered through phone that receives, let's say like for food deliveries, for example, order comes in through DoorDash and through this chain of information routing, it's dispatched to a specific scooter that's located right near this restaurant that says, pick this order up and take it right over here. Okay. There's a whole IoT stack, right, that serves as the brains on how all of that talks to each other and how it's all routed out, because we're talking cellular. We're talking cellular connectivity. We're talking API integrations. We're talking all these various mechanisms through which each different channel has to talk to each other, right? And that's how you kind of get this Internet of Things ecosystem. Now, what we try to do is we try to build it in such a way where we can run various applications off of one stack. And without going into, because this is another partner of mine that we work together to do it, but just conceptually speaking, what we do is you have like one base IoT stack that has an open API integration, which can then port through. And then on the back end, I have every type of vehicle, right, that's connected to said IoT. So like I could just go into a dashboard and trigger a scooter off and an electric car on, or trigger that off and then turn a lawnmower bot on, or turn that off and turn this on, right, from one dashboard using the same base IoT stack. And then on top of that, it's various applications. Now, what we have, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be adding a new component to our rideshare application, and that's going to be delivery. So within the same application, you could operate a rideshare fleet or a delivery fleet. And all it is just hit a button, it'll switch over, and then you could reassign vehicles to one or the other based on location, business demand, things like that. So what that does is it increases the revenue potential, adds different verticals to your primary rideshare fleet, so you can stack off of that, right? Then we start adding different vehicle profiles, and you start to see where this is going. So IoT is the actual software side of it. That's kind of like the crux of it all. That
Okay,
makes sense.
I think so. I think so. So you guys are using the IoT for your um, devices,
Yes.
scooters, and also to place orders for things.
So okay, so now how that works is now we're talking API, right? Because
Hmm.
now what we're saying is that okay, if we have the delivery side of the application, well, what are we delivering, and who's it from, and where's it going, right? How do we pull that data and then reassign it to the proper vehicle to go to the proper place? Okay. So what happens here is like, let's just say, for example, your delivery stack is integrated with Amazon because you have an Amazon route. Okay.
Hmm.
Then you have, I don't know, a DoorDash integration, right? Because DoorDash will offload, if they have surplus orders, they'll offload them. They'll offload them to a third party.
Hmm.
Okay. Uber Eats does the same thing. They all do the same thing. Okay. So then it becomes integration, 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 right? Now data is being pulled in from multiple sources. Here, pick this up here and take this here. Oh, this is Amazon telling me to pick this up. Oh, wait a minute. DoorDash is telling me to go and pick this up and take this over here, right? Because they call the data through there and it says, okay, go here, pick this up and take it over here. Then you have your mapping integration, right? So once you pull that data and it tells you now you need the mapping integration to geo track where you are to tell you where to go, right? Where you hear it, so that's where the cellular connectivity comes into play. Um, Primarily how it works with like our stuff because each vehicle has a micro SIM in it, right? And it's connected to cellular data.
Hmm.
And then it all, like I said, it all talks to each other through a server in the back end. And yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. So a few buzzwords. So API, that's an acronym for. Let me try it. That's application program interface.
Application program interface, yes.
All right, all right. See, I'm not a tech guy. I'm a biological guy. Integrations. So you're basically talking about with integrations, programs or software from different users talking or different.
It really kind of depends on how you like how like what data you're calling and how it needs to be routed basically.
Okay.
And that's where I'll start talking gobbledygook, right? Because then I'll be
Okay.
talking about like how you take a ghost kitchen that has a whole bunch of restaurants in it. Well, I guess we can go into that. So let's just say, for example, you're gonna run you're gonna run a fleet of e-bikes. That's gonna be like an e-bike delivery platform. And let's just say there's like you know what a ghost kitchen is? It's sort of like a kind of like a commercial kitchen, right? Where there's like various restaurants that operate out of it, and then the food's ordered through apps, right? And then it's just delivered from out of there, right?
Okay.
So one of the issues, and this is where there's a lot. 2022 is going to be a pivotal year for micromobility because this is going to be the stopgap, or this is going to be the fill-in for what what the ride share, like the DoorDash and the Uber Eats and all these guys. What's happening here is that because one, you've had like change in legislation as it relates to gig economy workers, especially here in California. They pretty much just made that a non-thing anymore, right?
A DoorDash and
Well, yeah, if you're doing it, you're no longer a contractor. You're now an employee.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of industrial changes. Add on top of that, you have inflation, rising gas costs, stuff like that. See, so a lot of people look at the cost benefit of being paid pretty much the same thing to deliver a product, but on the back end, their operating costs have gone way up, right? So
Hmm.
now you have you have you have a demand in delivery drivers because less people are doing it because they're making less money, so they're not motivated to do it. Meanwhile, the orders just come piling in. right? And then
Mm.
the restaurant operator's like, okay, who's going to pick this shit up? And then like the food gets to people like 30, 45 minutes late, hour after they ordered it. And then they beat the restaurants up and Yelp because like, fuck, my food's all cold, soggy, blah, blah, blah. So there is there's a demand in industry. And it's kind of like the rush to see who can roll out smaller modes of transportation to move things from point A to point B. Right? This is where if we take another kind of 10,000 foot view, this is where like supply chain and logistics and how micromobility comes into play in all this. And again, what undergirds all this is the IoT and all that shit, right? But then I'm also kind of explaining to you why this is a burgeoning industry right now, because we're literally, if you take like like the supply chain issues they talk about, as I was saying, like delivery times, rising gas costs, all these various factors, it trickles down into what we see on the ground as consumers.
Okay, complex. So stop right there. So
Okay.
so a burgeoning industry. We're going to come back to that. Two more vocabulary words. You use the term stack.
Yeah.
What's that referring to?
No, that just means our program, our application.
Okay.
Yeah, the code that it's basic because like you put like if you look at like a text editor, right? It's like basically the code sets are stacked on top of each other. It's just a stack.
Okay.
That's just a word.
And then micro mobility.
Yeah, that's just basically small, like e-bikes and scooters, like anything. Anything. I forgot like the technical. I forgot it scale size or what have you, but basically it's small mobility devices.
Okay.
Like an e-scooter or an electric bike or like a small electric car, like a small one.
Okay. So take us back to a burgeoning industry, and if you want to share something at any time, please.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see
screen
here.
or sites or
Yeah,
whatever.
let's see. Tab. Let's Google Drive. That's the one. Okay, you guys see this here?
Yep.
Okay. So oh, and by the way, so there's another thing I do on the side, right? So the same factory that rolls out all of my commercial vehicles, they also produce this scooter right here. It's produced by it's actually Porsche designed this. Okay. I have one of these. I have one of these in my garage right now, and like basically, they made me the dude responsible for bringing this stuff to market here in the U.S. So, yeah, so I've been like meeting up with and having talks with a lot of like Porsche folks, right? All dealerships, owners clubs, stuff like that. Man, they're eating this stuff up, and that's another part of about micromobility, right? Because these are the type of like it's just ideas that I'm throwing out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people that typically own Porsches, like money's not really an issue. So if this is something that folds and they can just stick it in their trunk and they're like, how much? And I'm like $700. And they're just like, oh, right. So that's another thing, right? Just personal mobility, not even just from a commercial standpoint, but also from a consumer, right? That is also a new burgeoning market because cars are expensive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're expensive. And so if people typically only have to go but so many miles or, in terms of distance of travel and stuff, then another thing that people are looking into is like, let me just go get an electric bike. I can go get 30 miles out of the battery on that thing, So that was the old shop right there. That was in Chatsworth, man. And you notice it's power sports. So, but what we were doing out of there was, so this is kind of how I started getting into the electric scooter stuff, because we were a warranty center for Razor scooters, for Raleigh electric bikes, for Coleman and their like electric stuff. So let's say like you bought like a Razor electric scooter on Amazon, right? And then like 6 months, 8 months later, the battery is completely shot and it's not charging. And then you call razor, and then they'll say, "Where are you located?" And you're like, I'm in Southern California. I'm in LA." And then they would tell you to bring it to me, and then I would fix it. So that was kind of how I was doing how I got into this. Now, this is basically what it is now. It's micromobility. It's bikes, it's scooters, and it's the software, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
the three primary components. Like I said, Lattice, that's who has been my development partner for going on 4 years. I'm going to go into what this company does right here in a little bit. Well, after this, because now I'll show you where IoT from an infrastructure standpoint comes into play. And this is
Okay.
one of the companies I'll profile right here. And then this is my factory in China, right? That I'm basically responsible for their business here.
Okay.
And so these are like something like the specs, right? And what I'm just kind of, you know, I don't know if you want to look at this shit, but
I
350 watt.
skimmed through. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I have like three different battery options, right? 10.4, 12 amp, or 15 amp. I bring over everything that has 15 amp hour because I want things to stay charged longer. The battery is something. Basically, you use an app to pop it out of the chassis right here. It's a huge battery pack that you stand on right here, right? It's an insulated battery.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically built for commercial use. Okay. There you go. See, that's how it works right there. And then we see what you do is, so like in the field, for example, also on my dashboard, I can check the battery level through IoT, right? I know everything that's going on with each scooter, right? It'll tell me what's going on. If it throws off an error code, let's just say there is a hall sensor issue, right? So the controller has the controller has a protocol. It may have like a beep sequence. If the scooter senses that there's a hall sensor issue, it'll give off a beep sequence. But what the IoT does is it intercepts all of those protocols, and then it comes to me as a notification on my phone that says, "Hey, that scooter has a hall sensor issue." You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what I mean. The IoT kind of everything becomes slaved to to this whole thing that then on my dashboard side tells me everything about everything that's out there, no matter where it is, by the way, too. So let's just say I have fleets in LA, I have one in Africa. I can literally just pull up a dashboard and I can see everything on every one of them.
Did you say you have fleets in Africa?
Well, I don't have fleets in Africa. Lattice does. Like
Lattice does.
a part of our development team is there too,
Okay.
and we intend to actually go there with it because we actually tested all of this stuff on the Mara phone. So back in 2019, Mike V went to Rwanda, right, where Mara, they're the only company in Africa that literally has their own manufacturing plant where they make their own phones, right, and they run Android. So I was curious to see if I could get that phone connected here in the States, right, and then if the app would run on it, and I got it connected to Google Fi. So to my knowledge, we were like the only dudes in the U.S. To our knowledge that had a Mara phone connected to a U.S. cellular network and got this shit to work on it. So our whole plan is to like take this back to Rwanda. So we basically took their shit, R&D'd it over here, and then we're gonna go and pitch it back over there.
Okay.
Yeah. So this and so basically it's like QR, right? See, so the QR and so the QR code is going to be specific to each vehicle, right? And that's how each vehicle or each device has its own profiles through QR. And so the user would just scan the QR and then it's going to call that specific vehicle. And then in the app, it'll allow you to access it after you put your payment information and all that. And then you can just trigger it on, off, right? Close out, etc. Right? And those are like commands on the user side in the app, and then that accesses certain commands in the IoT here, which then sends the commands down to the controller, which says go or stop or lock. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And same for the e-bikes. So these are like this is just sort of like a mock for an e-bike. but it's for like a commercial type. It's a new type of bike that uses like solid honeycomb tires. We're thinking about doing something along these lines with a design like this. That's why it's just a CAD right now, right? We're thinking about rolling something off that literally has so many minimal parts that could go wrong, right? You have to really you have to use a minimalist design
Hmm.
with components that have that don't wear. So, for example, hard tires instead of like air inflated tires, single speed derailleur instead of like a multi gear derailleur, because that just more possibility for damage, right? So then we use a different controller to modulate the output to kind of give it a gear effect. So taking a different approach to doing that. But so here's like these would be like the technical specifications for it. Like I said, we're considering getting it built, but these are the specs for it.
So
But yeah,
complex.
these are like the devices that we have connected to it. Yeah.
So complex. So we I asked you about micro mobility a little while ago. Is that an example of an e-bike?
Yeah, yeah. There's like we have other e-bike designs that um go that also can go onto, that can be connected to it. Like I said, that was a mock of a design that we're thinking about bringing over, because again, it's a design that has it has lesser chances for damage. One of the things about e-bikes, man, people beat the shit out of them. So you want to go with something that minimalizes the possibility or potential for either having to maintenance and repair, basically. So
Okay. And a little while ago, you said CAD meaning computer.
yeah, computer aided design.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
I know that was a term. My brother was into architecture at one point, and I remember that
Yeah,
acronym. J Bones, thank you for the Cash App. Yes, I got it. If anyone wants to
awesome.
donate to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal info are right here. I don't have a super chat over here yet. That's why I appreciate people watching this. And also, I want to acknowledge the Roger Report for sharing this stream over in his network.
Oh, appreciate it,
Um,
man.
I
That's cool.
just to keep. Well, we were talking about a lot of things. Complex was showing us his business. We're talking about how uh, Complex is using the new, existing, and coming technologies to run this business. So I just want to go back out to 30,000 feet. So people coming in, they see us talking about micromobility and e-bikes and the scooters and stuff, what we're talking about.
Yeah, here, let me show you. I just found some other stuff, man. I just want to show you guys. Here, I just
Hey,
my
Nicole, thank you for
humble
coming through.
beginnings, huh?
I just want to acknowledge Nicole. Nicole's in the chat.
Oh, hey, Nicole. How
Thank
you
you for
doing, lady?
stopping by yesterday.
The first lady of the Black Brain Trust, for those of y'all who may not know that. A little history for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to share something else?
Yeah. So this was back in the day at Bird. This was the this my humble beginnings in all this. So I was just showing you guys, man. Like I literally did this shit. This was in our facility back then. Some photos here. We got these huge fans because it was hot as hell in there.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna pull up the infrastructure doc that I wanted to show here. Let me just find that. Got too much crap in here. Oh wait. Oh well, that you know what? That's a whole different. I never even
So
talked about that. So
complex.
yeah,
See, we're at about an hour.
yeah.
Let's see. I wanted to ask you um, about other coming technologies you see on the horizon, because I've heard you talk about that before. But
Yeah.
in terms of business training, did you all um, learn those aspects on the fly as well, or did you guys get some sort of formal business training or do you have a CPA or a lawyer to guide you through those aspects?
Well, my business partner is he's an economics grad, so we both we work well together because there's things that I handle and then there's the things that he handles, right? So, but I think just from my own, my own experience, yeah, it's really just kind of been a trial and error, and then, crack the books and school yourself and, it's a mix of all of that, self-taught experience, trial and error, you know, um, and then also talking with other people who know more than you, right? Talking with people who know. I'm so not the type of dude who thinks I know everything. I go to people who know more than me about something so that I can learn. you know,
Yep.
yeah, learn smart, not hard, man.
Well, that's one
Uh,
of the
yeah.
basic lessons Robert Kiyosaki talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad was
Hmm.
getting a team of people together who are smarter than you.
Yes.
You know, not wanting to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, oh, here we go. Wait, hear me. Smart. Is it this? I think this is the one. Smart adapter. Oh yeah, here we go. So, and this tab.
And
Okay.
I just while you're doing that, I just want to say, uh, unfortunately, the ADOS tribe, our people, we're kind of behind in the stems. So I think that this discussion is important because it's not only geez, I've already learned so many terms and concepts here, but also these sciences and technologies, you don't just learn them just for the hell of it. I mean, you can turn these things into your own enterprises and your own companies. So
Yeah.
that's the power in us talking about this and complex sharing this.
Well, I would even say that some of us have even gone through the trouble and and the sleepless nights of sorting this all out to provide it right as a turnkey, so that it's like I said, learn from people who already did it so that you don't have to repeat it. You can just get right in it, right? That's why I try to push more of the fundamental understanding of how it works, but then really look at the business opportunities because the money is there. Not to say that the money isn't in development, because it is, right? Like that's where we talk about like tech jobs and you know um coding and all that kind of stuff, right? But then there's also the things that I was just telling you about, right? um the deficiencies our in basically in our industries right now. We're seeing like a complete shift and a change just in the environment here in the United States, right? For a whole lot of reasons we don't have to go into, but we're seeing that. And when I do the tech talks on the brain trust, and I cover articles like Bolt, them receiving $709 million to do the very things that I'm telling you that we do as a company. And we're self-funded. I don't have I wish I had $709 million, but that's the kind of money that's floating around for the very thing that we're talking about right now. This is where investment groups, hedge fund groups and all that, they're analyzing the environment and saying, okay, where should we put money? What makes sense? Where does it make sense for us to go and put money? Ah, okay. In transport, micro transport. Why? Because we have the Paris Climate Accord, right? That basically is stipulating, okay, fossil fuels, any vehicles running on these types of things, okay, by 2020, I'm sorry, by 2035, we want that shit out of here. Okay. You see, so no one's going to wait until 2020, 2030, 2032 to then start making electric vehicles. They're doing it now.
Oh, okay.
It's all happening like literally right now. Okay. California just mandated by 2030, all electric vehicles have to have full autonomy capabilities. all of them. Okay, that's in a scant 8 years. I
Okay.
mean, that's why I'm like, come on, folks, come on. Like I'm always hearing about arguing about should brothers get into, should this, should that, we need to, da da da. I think those conversations. I think those conversations are done. At least they should be. Like when I'm showing you that, like with this type of technology right now. So this is the infrastructure component, right, to IoT.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're walking around, you have a scooter, you have a skateboard, you have e-bike, whatever, and you're like, damn, you know what? My battery's starting to run low. Pull out your app, right? Something pops up and says, hey, go right here, you can charge it. Okay. So it's multimodal, right? So it's infrastructure now. Okay, this is part of you just line this up as a rack right around parks and stuff like that. You know, these are the adapters that we use to patch into the docks right here, right?
Okay. So complex. When you say multimodal,
Hmm.
you're referring to multiple kinds of vehicles or multiple what?
Like this right here, for example, here's a
Yeah.
bot,
Yep.
here's a scooter, here's a cargo bike, and
Yep.
here's a regular e-bike. It's one thing that can serve multiple purposes. That's what I'm saying. Off of my software, I can launch anything.
Yes. What for all those novices, what would that bot be used for?
Let's see here. Leaf removal, snow blowing, lawns, security, delivery, you name it.
Okay. Okay.
Riley
Uh,
Assey said, "Are y'all on LinkedIn? Want to know more about this? Just joined in." No. You know what, dude? I'm so all over the place with things I got to do. I don't even pay attention to LinkedIn. I need to though. Yeah. I'll just if you want, I'll drop my email here before we check out here and stuff.
okay. Well, I guess we can end, and then if some folks want to come in and do some more talking. We're gonna put your email out there in the chat, or
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I can put it out there. Stan, you said one
um,
thing I noticed is when he's talking about one of his ideas, he's probably 75% to completion. Hmm?
I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure either. If you can elaborate.
Yeah, can you elaborate?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was one project I was mentioning, or I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, can
And I
you?
hope I wasn't cutting you off. I mean, there were times when
No,
I
no,
was
no. I'm sorry.
mentioning
I
some
was reading
topics.
that and I wasn't sure what he was referencing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, but what were you saying, dude?
Uh, Coming technologies.
Okay.
I mean, you've already
Yes.
shown us. I mean, robots. Engineering Cannabis says, I guess something like that could be used for Amazon
Yes.
delivery. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
but can you talk about? I mean, and you've already just showed us coming technologies. You talked about things. I guess the gig stuff going away.
Hmm.
Um, are there other things that you see happening, or
Well, whew.
well, here's your answer, Complex. He says, Complex is a doer, not a talker.
Oh,
So he's giving you a pat on the back.
yeah, yeah. I don't like to. Dude, man, once I want to do something, man, I just do some shit. Like I'm that kind. I'm that type of dude, man. I don't really just twiddle my thumbs too much. Once I want to do something, man, I just go do it. I don't care. Um, okay, you said
Yeah, what other trends do you see coming? I mean, because the whole gig thing
okay.
going away, that's huge because people
Well,
have been using that.
but see, that's the thing, right? So that's kind of where I always try to keep my thumb on the pulse of like what's going on in various places, right? Because that's
Yes,
California.
yes.
Other places, like okay, let's just sidebar real quick. from a politics standpoint, this country is really, it's a lot of people are thinking a lot differently about things depending on where you are,
Yes.
right? And so what we're starting to see here is that rules and regulations and stuff like that are going to start to be very different based on where you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's where these types of things, um, we have to have the ability from, say, like a hardware and software and from a supply standpoint, what I'm supplying the clients not only has to be one multimodal, but two, we have to be able to adapt it to the environment,
Okay.
right? So that's where it's sort of like, okay, where it depends on where you are, right? Like California, um, hmm, very expensive to operate here. So what we do primarily here is we do a lot of just like the development side of things because we already have the infrastructure set up for that. Um, and then in other places, like I'll provide fleets and stuff like that for operators, right? We have an app that we also use for rideshare, and coming will be delivery. We're gonna start beta testing that, I think, mm, late next month or March. And I think that's where we're going to start piloting stuff here in California.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start with that. Not so much the rideshare, because with the rideshare stuff, you know, it's not really a competition thing. It's just that because this stuff launched here in California, and because of like the mess that Bird and Lime and all these bigger companies kind of left, it left really like a stain, in California. So they make it very difficult to do like rideshare business unless you're like in a small city somewhere and you're running like a little small fleet somewhere, then it's not a problem. But if you're trying to do what by most accounts, so let's say if you had like 100 scooters, that's by definition a small fleet. Okay. It's very hard to do that as a single operator in certain places. And then in other places, it is super easy to do it. So it really kind of just depends on your environment. But that's where I kind of work with my operators, man. I work with them, when one, I can shoot them projects because I see it on the back. We'll see it on the back end. So the one thing is you can expand your operator network, and then two, you expand the revenue model, right? Some places, again, delivery and all that other stuff may actually be what the need is and not so much rideshare. In other places, you can get your rideshare stuff off all day long, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
super passive. So it kind of just depends.
Okay.
But in terms of where this stuff is headed, definitely, man, you're going to see a whole lot about uh, e-bike, cargo bike deliveries for Amazon, US Mail. You watch, I'm telling you,
E-bike, meaning they want to do
electric
away
bike.
with the big trucks driving around, or
Yes, because what you could
eco-friendly.
do is you can have like a mid-drive e-bike, which is basically where the electric motor's on the front sprocket and it's not on the rear wheel, so it's not a hub motor. It's a mid-drive motor and it's on the front sprocket, and you get like a high torque mid-drive setup, right? So it's maybe like a trike bike. You can have even like a small little canopy or enclosure to keep like rain and stuff off the person operating it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what you'll have is you'll have these trailers that you hitch to the back of it, right? And then you're gonna use an app, just like how like when a FedEx driver pulls up, he's got this device in his hand, he pulls the package out, boop, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
So this device you'll have to use it to trigger a box, right? So now the box, the enclosure, right? There's a lock mechanism that's also connected to the IoT. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So right, so you get so because what if just on the off chance somebody decides that okay, they want to try to bike jack somebody, right? Because they got a trailer full of Amazon packages. You know how easy it is for me to hit a button and that shit just stops?
Hmm.
Like somebody sends me like a notification, an alert, dude. Somebody just ambushed me and threw me off the bike and they took off. Wait, hold on. right? That motherfucker's gonna stop right there and it's not gonna move.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then, like I said, just being able to have something where you can just hitch a trailer to it, and then you just Amazon will give you routes. You just go on the routes, open the box, get the package out, deliver it, close it out, boop, on to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same. It's typical like regular delivery mobility, but just on a micro scale.
Okay. You want to entertain some folks on the panel?
Sure. What we got?
Okay. I'm gonna drop a link, everyone. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my cash app.
And you know what? Let me do this. I'm gonna step away because I've been sipping on some lemon water this whole time. I gotta go to the little boy's room, man.
All right.
But yeah, if you want to drop the link, man, people want to come up, man. That's cool.
All right. And there's a question for you here when you get back.
Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
Everyone, I'm going to drop the link if some of you guys want to come up. I see some of the tech guys there. I won't be able to answer any of the stuff that Complex knows because I'm not a guy. But if you guys want to come up, I'll be right back. And we'll start with this question from Clark S. I hope everyone's enjoying their Sunday. It's starting to snow here in the DMV. It's starting to snow pretty heavily, which is fun to look at if you have supplies in your home, coffee, soup, everything. All right, let's see. We got engineering cannabis. How's it going, engineering cannabis?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Oh, by the way, everyone, if you haven't seen it, engineering cannabis came a couple months ago. We talked about AI and its role in the biomedical sciences, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but again, with Complex Design, I'm a frequent contributor to his the Black Brain Trust.
Yes.
So I'm always there contributing new tech, and Complex Design is basically an expert in micro mobility and all that. Then I come in with my expertise in AI, IoT, and blockchain, and contributing inside. And I want to also talk more in terms of the IoT and more perspective also in the healthcare side, because now to give more insights on what IoT actually is. So let's say, for instance, a doctor comes in and says, "I want information about a patient," and maybe the patient is wearing an Apple wristwatch that takes his vitals, his heart rate, and all that. So that watch is then connected to the doctor's device, where he can read his vitals directly. And also that at that same thing, his device is also connected maybe to a blockchain that has direct records of the patient. And that same device is also connected to an AI that reads the data, that basically takes information from that AI about the patient itself. So that one device is connected to several devices. And the objective of that device is to see the patient's or the overall patient's health itself. So that's what IoT is. It's taking data from numerous devices to make one objective, to accomplish one objective. So that's what IoT is, a communication of different devices to make that decision. The doctor's device is connected to his Apple wristwatch, his blockchain with his medical records, and AI in the system, and all of them are communicating with each other to make sure that the patient is basically receiving the best medical care itself. And that's what IoT is. Different equipments or different equipments talking to each other, relating information to each other to meet an objective. Another example is, which was recently done in Japan. Now, they've created a toilet that basically, when you defecate, the toilet looks at your stool and takes samples of it. If it's liquidy, if you're dehydrated, if you're all that, and that toilet communicates to your refrigerator and your cell phone and gives you a list of foods that says you're deprived of to help you basically be more healthy. That's just what's happening currently in Japan. They're creating that technology, that communication, where if you just sit down, if you pee, it samples all of that, your pH of your pee. It samples your electrolytes. It samples your sugar levels, everything, and then communicates that to your fridge and says, "Hey, the patient you have, the person who just peed in this toilet has problem with a high sugar. We need to reduce his sugar level. We need to give him more healthier foods that can help him reduce that sugar level. Or he's dehydrated. We need to stock up on more water." So that's what IoT is. The ability to use technology to communicate with each devices in your house or even devices in different sectors to meet an objective. And that's what the IoT is. And it's now big in healthcare, especially in healthcare now, especially with Complex talking about emerging technologies, the 5 emerging technologies we've seen, and they've always talking about it in the Black Brain Trust is IoT, blockchain, which is always the problem with blockchain is they limit it to cryptocurrency, but blockchain now in healthcare is huge. Blockchain is a huge technology in healthcare with the HIPAA rule, with records and all that. It's a huge factor right now, not only in healthcare, but in every other side. For instance, in certain parts of Africa, they use the blockchain to basically verify if your drugs are basically good or not. If the drugs are counterfeit or not. They use that technology to verify if your drugs are counterfeit. The drugs that's being produced in the market, if it's counterfeit or not. And also they use that same technology to verify if the blood transfusion going into a human's blood is correct or not. So if someone wants to receive blood transfusion, in order to verify that blood is the same blood type as the patient receiving that drug, they put that on a blockchain to verify that. These are just examples. For instance, if someone is taking an AIDS medication, in order to verify that AIDS medication is the correct concentration, correct amount, the blockchain is used to verify that AIDS medication is correctly the same concentration, the correct concentration, correct producer, and everything. This is just a few application of blockchain technology in the healthcare field.
Yep.
Okay, I want to.
Sure.
Okay, engineering cannabis. You mentioned 2 technologies?
IoT. There are 5 technologies coming up that's big.
Yeah.
So it's IoT.
Yep.
Blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum computing. 5G. And AI.
AI.
Okay. I want to show the audience something. Then I want to ask Complex a question. Thank you for that, engineering cannabis.
Hey, Patrick, what's going on, man?
Hey, Complex.
For context, in terms of blockchain, my mentor had me write something up about this a couple years ago. This is from my original blog. Just for context, the reason blockchain is important, creation of a distributed record, addition to the chain is permissioned, and transactions are secured.
Yes.
Just for context, so everyone watching this, because this might go over some people's heads.
That is what's basically taking over the healthcare industry right now. Blockchain, the ability to have, because one of the biggest problems in the healthcare right now is quick accessibility to a patient's record. There are too many loopholes you have to jump just to get your medical records, and too many signatures, too many laws, and too many regulations.
Too many databases.
Too many databases, and it's not connected. A USC hospital might have a different database, a different way to store your records than a hospital in Charlotte or VA hospital in DMV. So now, just to get that record is a whole process itself. And again, the doctor will need that record just to know how your past records, your family history, and all that. He needs to get all that as a way to know, and your vitals at that point, to know basically your status, how you're feeling, and what you're doing. But what the blockchain does is eliminate those loopholes. It gives you authority to your data. It gives you ownership of your data. Every individual has ownership. Right now, we don't own our data itself in the medical side. We think we do, but we don't. But this gives you a direct ownership of your data, and then gives direct accessibility to the doctors to your data. So blockchain technology, it's an innovative technology that's not only touching, again, the healthcare industry, it's touching luxury industry. In order to for a watching maybe a Ralph Lauren watch or something to verify that that watch is authentic, a blockchain technology is used in that for luxury items. Or again, blockchain is used in cow manufacturing. Blockchain, it's used in even right now. I'm pitching an idea for organic foods with blockchain in it. So it's this is a technology that's ever growing and ever improving in every sector, and especially within the healthcare sector. I'm a CTO of a company that deals with blockchain in the healthcare sector and AI. The other thing is blockchain is not, it's also connected to every other technology. So it's connected to the IoT, it's connected to the AI, it's connected to the quantum computing. You can see the connectivity once you start looking at how the technology is affecting it. And again, if you go to hospitals right now, the goal is now to implement this in a mass scale, because again, it gives it accessibility,
So,
and that accessibility basically gives is applied to every other industry too.
okay, engineering cannabis. I want to. There was a question here for complex design. If anyone wants to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are there. Clark S to you, Complex Design asked, what sources does Complex Design use to stay on top of tech news or developments specific to his industry?
Oh man. You want, honestly, dude, like it's there's okay. In all truthfulness, this is actually a really small sector. Okay. There's only but a few. Remember I was telling you, Dr. Dunbar, earlier in the discussion, right? Like, so when I got into the music thing, right, and we did like a online record store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told you I could literally name off on one hand the other people that were doing it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the same situation now. We all kind of know each other already. There's not that many of us that do it, like, right. See, so usually it's through phone calls from people. Like I'm on meeting, I meet with like CEOs and CTOs and, you know, all those types of people. Those are typically the people that I'm doing a lot of like meetings with. So it's like I'm kind of getting it firsthand, right? And then there's TechCrunch and Engadget. You know, those are a few of the Electrek. That's another news source. So those are three sources that typically are always kind of reporting on like the new trends, right? They'll report on that. Like I said, just like the Bolt article I covered, that was on, I think, TechCrunch. That $709 million investment that they got, right? And then breaking down like why they got it and what they're doing, you know, what their plans are and what they're going to be doing. So those type of like websites, like I said, Engadget, TechCrunch, and Electrek. Those are the three that you can get a lot of micromobility news and information from. But usually I'm always kind of like hearing stuff on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we're kind of in this panel phase. If anyone else wants to come up, we'll go for about a ballpark another 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be mindful of complex design, your time. Engineering Cannabis, did you have more you wanted to say about any of those technologies, or
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
wide open right now?
yeah. So there's a question about HIPAA. The
Oh, wait.
blockchain,
You know, he asked me to drop my email. Hold on.
the blockchain actually basically satisfies that HIPAA law. It even satisfies that even over. Basically, that is the gold. That will soon be the gold standard for the HIPAA law.
Yeah.
Because the definition of a blockchain is the ability to store your data in a block without being tampered with. So the beautiful thing about the blockchain, it's the security. Somebody mentioned a hash in the comments. Yes, it does do a hash, and basically the hash is a polymathematical formula that secures the blockchain itself. So the blockchain is secured by a hash, a polymathematical formula that basically it's a code that basically you can't break it. Some people believe a quantum computer you can break it, but I have my own ways to deal with it. But currently, what a blockchain does is it secures your data and secures it where nobody can tamper it, nobody can change it, nobody can alter it. If it's in the blockchain, it's secure. It's tight. It's basically you cannot. If you want to alter it, you can't alter it. You only if you want to add on to it, that you can add on to it, basically by creating another block. But the blockchain is you cannot tamper it, you can't alter it, you can't do anything. Once a record is in there, it's in there for life. So that provides that traceability for basically when your medical records are placed in the blockchain or your family history record is placed in the blockchain. The doctor can then pull up the blockchain and pull up your records immediately. And knowing that it's secure in the blockchain, knowing it's not tampered with, that basically verifies that that is your true record. And the beautiful thing is, you're the only one who has access to it through a private key, meaning you have to give your private key to the doctor to access your records. And after the doctor accesses the records and he adds his new data in there, the private key automatically changes and you own the new private key. The old one basically becomes discarded. That gives you the anonymity, or basically the anonymity that you own that record and the doctor doesn't own it. And the good thing is now as an AI developer, if I want to develop an AI that says I need to know patients with type 2 diabetes, I need to have patients records with type 2 diabetes to create an AI to help solve their problems. All I need to do is then incentivize you, say, okay, I can pay you for your records now. Right now, nobody has that. Nobody will pay you because right now, you don't have that ability. But if you have your records on a blockchain, you can sell your data to me as an AI developer. They say, hey, I need your data. I need 100 people's data to basically create my AI. Then I can go buy that data from you at a reasonable price and develop my AI system. And that's what blockchain is provided. The ability to not only you be involved in the acquisition and selling of your data, but also in the process of not privatizing your data, but also protecting and securing your data in the healthcare sector. And that's just one sector. This can be applied in the social side sector, in every sector, the ability to protect your own data and own it. And then if anybody wants to have access to it, either they can buy it or you can sell it, and then they have access to do what they need to do with it. And that's what blockchain is giving us the ability to own our own data itself. So again, the HIPAA rule, the blockchain basically satisfies that and beyond.
I wanted to also just Mike Via literally just sent me an an article here. Another source, I think it was, who was it that was asking? The Robot Report. If you want to look into that, because again, it's basically those are the type of devices that get slaved to IoT, right? See, so now if you want to look into all of the various types of devices that are in development and that can be utilized, look into where you could check that article right there, and then look into where they're taking that.
Yeah, and all these technologies what's going on right now, all these technologies are changing every industry. IoT, blockchain, quantum computing, 5G, AI. They're now basically evolving every industry. If you name any industry, I can tell you how that can be related to blockchain, IoT, AI, and everything. Even basketball, I can
Oh my
tell
God,
you.
don't get me started on that. Right?
I can tell you,
Analytics.
I can build an AI system that basically finds a way to beat the top basketball players and formulate ways to beat the top basketball players. Or even more, the boxers, I can find a way to beat a boxer with all these analytics. I can find a way to create an AI system and say, this is the perfect AI to beat Floyd Mayweather. So all these technologies are currently changing. And the problem is we need more people involved. Again, not only because, again, for instance, I always talked about AI. AI has changed, again, I always talked about these three things that touches everybody: health, wealth, and relationships. AI, all these technologies are changing all those three: health, wealth, and relationship. Let's go with wealth. In order for a brother or anybody to get a mortgage or get a business loan, an AI decides that. AI takes all the data you have, your your employment, where you live, everything, and takes all that and formulates a risk assessment saying, at this point, this business loan is at, if given this person this business loan, it's as risk as 20% not being basically returned. He's not worthy of that. And they're taking all this data, but the question is, nobody's asking how biased that data is towards you. Why is my environment a factor in giving me a loan? Why isn't only my credit score a viable means to give me a loan? Why do you need to take variables like my environment, my job, and all that to give me a mortgage or all that? So these are variables that are used in an AI system to judge your wealth, to judge if you're given a loan or mortgage, or even in the justice system, if you're granted a bail. An AI system decides if you're granted a bail. What variables are in the AI system that's given them authority to grant me bail? What are they taking into consideration? Are they taking what are they taking my race? Are they taking my community? Are they taking my job? Are they taking my past records? Are these variables accounting to the AI to make that decisions?
Or
If they
no, what
are,
about crime rates in the area,
crime rates in
right?
the area, are these
Like, oh, well, there's higher crime rates here,
crime rates?
so
Yeah, are
highly
these
more likely.
likely
And then,
he's
yeah,
going to skip bail? Are these the variables that they're going to take into consideration in my bail? These are the questions. This is why we need more people in this area. Even with, again, in the healthcare side, what I read recently was all medical books are only done, are created with Caucasian skin. Most medical books are never written with black skin involved. And that was a big problem. So in the medical, are we creating AIs that are still matching the medical books that only look at Caucasian skins and neglect black skins? Are the data just bring, again, data is data. So where you draw that data from determines the kind of care you get. So am I drawing data from only the books, medical books and all that only deal with Caucasian skin? What of the dark skin ailments that fall on dark skin and all that. Where's that data? Is it used in that AI system too? So these are why people need to get involved in these kind of technologies, because again, these technologies are currently ultimately making decisions in our daily lives, in our wealth and health. I just talked of health. So again, this is why people need to be involved in these technology, and this technology is not going to stop. I even mentioned this technology in Professor Black Ops show in automated vehicles.
Yeah, to that. And then I'm gonna have to actually take off here in a few. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
lunch together.
Okay.
And then my daughter they have their cheerleading party at like 4 o'clock. So,
Okay.
hey, Patrick, we'll have to do. I forgot all about that. We'll have to do the engineering. Oh, I'm sorry, engineering. We'll have to do the cannabis live stream.
No problem.
Yeah, I want to touch on that article I sent you though, man.
No problem. I got
Uh,
it.
yeah. Let me see here. I think I was going to address something. What was the last point you were making there, engineer? I wanted to just touch on the
The
last point you
automated
were making.
vehicles.
Yeah, the automated vehicles. So here's the thing. I it's like, okay, it's a weird kind of a weird position to be put in, because on the one hand, like, I'm competing. Like I said, this is a small industry, so I'm trying to compete for a lot of real estate here, right? There's a lot of real estate that's available, and I'm trying to grab it. Now it's really just all about like how you go about, deploying your technology, like, and what you're doing with it. Intent does have a lot to play here, because things are changing. And I remember, like, when I came to the city I'm at now to launch Bird for a project, they sent me up here to do it, and I just ended up here because of the pandemic and stayed here. But um, when I came up here, man, it was like nobody knew that we were about to dump like over 250 scooters on the streets. Right? And I remember we got up like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, man. I had this truck just loaded up, man. I had this app, all these drop nests and stuff, and we just threw all this stuff in there. And I was back home by like about 5:45 in the morning. And a whole bunch of people woke up, and all of a sudden there were scooters all over the streets. Even South Park kind of lampooned bird scooters, right? If you guys go look it up, type in South Park bird scooters, and it's sort of like they lampooned, like, the whole way Bird went about like getting into the market, where it was just like they would do this whole huge scooter drop one night, everybody was asleep, and you get up in the morning, all of a sudden there's like these black and white scooters all over the place. So um the reality is that this stuff is going to find its way into our communities one way or the other. Now, we have a choice in the matter. Either we're the ones deploying it, or it's somebody else. And that's the point ultimately I'm trying to follow up on here with engineering cannabis, in terms of like how are we using it? Okay. I literally thought about doing it in such a way, and I don't even want to say I, man, because this is like a whole thing. There's a whole bunch of people involved in this, but the whole point here is for us to do a lot of the work, so that you wouldn't necessarily have to, or anybody that's looking to do this, like, they come. The reality is that we're at a point where it's all about deployment now. That's where I was like, okay, this isn't some years off type of thing. This is a now thing. Okay, it's a now thing. And how I look at it is that it's a way of owning the transportation routes, specifically in Black communities. It's a way of leveraging all of those business verticals that we talked about, right, to keep them in your community, so that the money circulates there. There's business activity, transportation routes being owned. See, people talk about infrastructure. I'll hear this stuff about, well, you don't own any infrastructure. Like, listen, or you haven't built any infrastructure. Infrastructure is already built out, and it's not the quote unquote white man that owns it. Everything is bonded. Like, we used to, we know. Here's what we also need to do: get our get our civic understanding up and understand how things are financed, because the quote unquote white man doesn't own things like that. Okay. You know, you have hedge groups that receive money from companies that you work for. So let's just say, like, you decide to invest in your Vanguard 401k. So that means you're putting money into a hedge, and then that hedge takes that money, and then they may go buy into a basket of bonds, and then those bonds may actually underwrite like streets and roads and stuff like that. See, so your black ass actually owns, quote unquote, a part of that. See, so we need to also get our intelligence up with regards to the inner workings and the mechanisms upon which we're able to do things like have wireless technology, and always having newly paved roads, and, you know, water systems and stuff like that. It's not just some anyway. The point I'm trying to make here is that what you could do is have a digital infrastructure, right, that lays on top of the pre-existing one, because the pre-existing one's already done. But it's all this new shit that's going to lay on top of it. And this is where we have to start. This is where we have to get more sophisticated with our thinking. You're not going to, this is a first world nation. Everything's built already. And even then, there were a lot of black men who built a lot of shit in this country. So I get tired of hearing about who built what. And it's irrelevant at this goddamn point. It's about, what are you putting on top of what exists now? That's where we are. Stop asking the old questions. You got to start asking new ones.
Okay. Thank you, Complex. And thank you for coming today and talking about Pacific Rides and sharing your story and sharing your expertise. Definitely
Absolutely.
look forward to talking to you some more in the future. And yeah, we'll talk some more offline.
Absolutely. I'll email you. Well, you know what? Here, hold on. I'll just throw it in the private chat.
Okay. Engineering cannabis, and the time we have left, we'll go for about 13 more minutes. There's a question I want to ask you about something you
Sure.
stated, and we'll close out with that. You said that AI was. Hold on a second. Okay, I got it. Complex.
Okay.
I'll save it. Thank you. You said AI was impacting relationships. What do you mean by that?
Okay, let's just go with the basic. Um, most dating apps are basically run by AI now.
Okay.
Most dating apps, if you go to any dating app itself, they ask you your data, your height, your weight, your
Mm-hmm.
everything. The goal is to correlate a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, okay, based on that data, they say, okay, now somebody comes in and says, okay, I'm looking for someone with the same height, the same that. And I said, okay, we have all this data from somebody who or that. We're going to match you with the person you basically said you wanted. And that's what AI is doing. It's basically aggregating every individual's data and basically trying to see who matches each other by what they want. But I always say the relationship side, the AI is kind of flawed because again, the data we're feeding the AI is flawed because again, someone comes in and says, I'm 6'4", I'm built, I'm all that, I'm Hercules. In real life, he's a big fat slub, and that's false data. And so another woman comes in and says, I'm Athena, I'm the goddess of love and all that, but that's false. She's not that. She's something else. So again, the relationship is an AI system. We feed it data to give it what we want, and that's just the basic part of it.
But
But again,
the input is
its input is
the
flawed.
input is flawed.
So that's the relationship. But again, if I was building it, I'll build it under a blockchain, utilizing not only your data, but not only your social data or everything, but real data itself, your pictures, your orders. I said, I want this, all your data stored in the blockchain if you want to basically come into this data site. And I want it verifiable. And with the blockchain, I can verify it and use that as a dating way to date if I was going to design that. But again, the AI system is just aggregating all your data and matching it to who wants what. So that's
But
what
let's
AI
not
is
go
doing.
into any details on that one because
Yeah. Yeah.
we may actually give out like
Give out some idea. Yeah.
multi-million dollar damn idea.
So
I was literally about to blurb something. I was about to say
yeah.
something. And I was like, let me shut
Yeah,
up.
I have my ideas. I have a lot of ideas and some stuff. But yeah, this is what it is. The relationship. It's basically dating apps. It's basically using AI to find your significant other. So this is what AI does in the relationship spectrum itself. And that's just the easy part. There are a lot of parts into AI is using psychology. It's using the psychological aspect of it. Now AI, they're training AI to think like a psychologist
Yeah,
or a
dude,
love
read your
doctor,
facial features in your
to read your
pictures,
facial
right? Like
features,
everything.
they call it sentimental analytics, to read your sentiments and everything and say, okay, this is how he or she feels about you. Basically, AI is basically taking over a lot. So it's not,
Oh man,
it's
don't get me
not,
started on that. Oof.
and I always pray that the people that, okay, like automated vehicles, I always pray that people who design these automated vehicles don't think like me. I always pray that. Because if I was designing an automated vehicle, I will put an insurance algorithm inside the automated vehicle, a risk algorithm that says that relates risks, either damaging the car or saving a life. And this risk, the algorithm would take into records like your criminal records, your job history, all that, and says if this car is basically damaged and is worth 50 million, is that life in that car worth that 50 million? And I always pray that they don't think like me.
Oh my god.
That will be the most messed up part of it. So the algorithm will say, okay, this dude has a criminal record based on facial ID. He's a criminal. He's a deadbeat. All that. He's not worth 50,000. Kill him. The car says, okay, he's not worth the risk. There's something else that's worth more risk. And the action of the automated vehicle decides to take the action of saving the car rather than saving the human life.
Well,
But I
I
always
mean,
believe
I think if, I mean,
no. That's why I always pray they don't think like me.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say that the other side to it, man, is that if you have a swift sort of shift, right, to everything being automated, right, what ends up happening is you swiftly take the human error equation out,
Yeah,
right, and so uh, that's when that scenario that you're talking about, right, becomes very interesting because what if by removing the human equation out of it, right, the AI doesn't even have to ask that
actually, yeah. It takes
because think about it, because now through IoT all the devices are talking to each other,
connected.
right?
Yeah,
So now we have less propensity for that,
yeah. So
right? That's kind of like the reverse side of what you're saying, right?
what's going on? So this is what AI is doing, and this is why I want people to get involved in it, so you can see where not only the opportunities lie, but also where the risks lie, where the problems lie. I mean, right now I've mastered those three technologies because of numerous trial and errors. Numerous. I've been playing with everything in terms of healthcare, relationships, in different area. I've been applying this technology, and I've seen the application beyond it. You can think of. But again, we're not seeing more people of color involved in these technologies. And these technologies are going to change everything. The way, again, health, wealth, and relationship, how we relate with one another, how we talk to one another, how we do business with one another, how we every aspect of our life, even driving to work right now. Again, it's going to be an automated vehicle. Talking to somebody on the phone, basically your data, even with the introduction of the metaverse right now. So again, there are layers and layers of these technologies that I can tell you. I have a whiteboard of different ideas and all that have been implemented. But again, the goal now is there isn't enough people of color in this industry, and there's a lot of money to be made
Yep.
in this industry. A lot of money. Just thinking of it, there's a boundless amount of money to be made. But we need more people to understand all these informations, all these technologies, because again, it's always changing as we go.
Doc, just real quick, man, because I'm gonna have to take off here in a second. Doc, this is for why did my comment get? Huh?
It's still there. I just showed it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what because I saw that was when Engineering Cancer earlier was talking about that. And I saw his comment. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, right there. Okay.
Floyd. Yeah, just in case you thought it was deleted, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we got 4 minutes left. Any parting comments either?
No, man. Hey, man. I appreciate you so much for having me up. You know, dude, I don't do one-on-one or interviews like this. Like I rarely do, man. So this is kind of like a rare opportunity, man. So appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, Complex and the Black Brain Trust, they do give you a lot of tech information, a lot of insights. Because again, I've been there with them for almost 2 years right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they were the one who brought the blockchain and IoT in my spectrum 2 years ago. Then I said, okay, I started studying it and basically got engrossed in it and started developing tech around it. So again, the Black Brain Trust has a lot of information. Complex has in the cannabis space, in the engineering space, tech space. Just latch on one of the technologies, learn it. It pays well as to if you want a job in it. If you want to create an event, there's a lot of accessibility in every field in healthcare, in the application of these technologies. So learn it. Pick one and learn.
Hold
Because
on one
again,
second.
it will change.
Riley's asking here. I'm gonna do this. I mean, typically, I always kind of plug the Black Brain Trust. I mean, dude, my channel's boring.
Yeah. So
On my
is that the
personal
name of
channel,
the-
man, I kind of. Well, if I'll, if you want, I'll post my channel. But to be truthful, my channel's always kind of been sort of like my own little personal like thing where I'll literally just show you what I'm growing in the backyard, or I like to watch birds too. So you know, I'll like do some bird watching, or maybe if I find a bird, I'll flip the camera on and be like, "Hey, check out that bird." But my channel is uh like I do literally, it's just for my own. It's just shits and giggles, man. That's but I'll drop it, man, if you want to check it out.
So Complex, I think I'm subbed here. Is the name of the channel the Black Brain Trust?
That's the Black Brain
Yeah.
Trust. That's like the channel where I mean, if you were to say, "Do you do content?" I would say, "Yeah," and it's on that channel.
Yeah, the tech.
My own personal one here, and I'll put it here. Like I said, sometimes like I'll start posting again because we're maybe towards the middle to end of next month. I'm gonna start getting the garden together, and that's typically what I do on there. I'll just do gardening stuff. So there you go.
Okay.
There's my channel.
Yeah, I'm subbed to it. Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, that's pretty much
Yeah,
all
man.
I've
Once
got.
again, man, I appreciate
Hey,
it. Appreciate it. And yeah, if you ever want to do some sort of follow up or something, man, I'm all. You know me, man. I'm
Okay.
down.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at the robot article that you dropped in the chat, and
Okay,
yeah, we'll talk some more.
that's what's up. All right, and Patrick, hey man, we'll catch up on the cannabis live stream here a
okay,
little bit another time, man, because I got to
no
take my
problem.
daughter to an event later.
I got you.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, Complex.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Engineering Cannabis.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to conclude this stream. I don't know if I did this, but I want to thank uh, Clark S for the Cash App. If you're watching this on the playback and you want to make a donation to the channel, that information is below in the description box. I'll probably leave my blockchain blog post down there as well because I think that's important. I'm going to read off what Engineering Cannabis said. I took notes during this whole thing from Complex Design and Engineering Cannabis. So the 5 technologies that we need to be aware of right now, the IoT, the Internet of Things, blockchain technology, quantum computing, 5G, and AI. So keep those on your radar. Yeah, this was a fun talk. I learned a bunch of things. I've crossed paths with Complex several times in the YouTube streets, and this is our first time talking. The name of the channel is Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology. I'm not a tech guy by training, but I'm always willing to sit and listen to you guys talk and host you guys, and I'm always willing to learn something. Before I shut this down, I just want to encourage everyone, those who are interested in following me as a not just this channel, but all of my content. I have 2 blogs and 4 channels. I am starting a newsletter for my LLC, the Big Words LLC. This link is in the description box below as well. You just click on it. There's a greeting there. And then below, there's the subscribe button. That's where you enter in your email address. I want to thank everyone who signed up thus far. I promise that your information will not be abused or sold to a third party. And I envision this letter going out just once a month, just capturing what I think are the most important or the most relevant videos and or blog posts at that particular time. I'm finishing up a book project, so that I think this is a good way to kind of consolidate my messaging strategically. But in any case, thank you to those of you who watched. Thank you to Roger for sharing this in his network, and thank you to Complex for coming over and talking about um, his path, your path, Pacific Rise, and emerging technologies, and just where things are going. It's important to keep your mind and your eyes on where things are going, educationally, and even just for investment purposes, and also politically. Just keep your eyes on where things are going. So, with that, everyone enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. I'm just thinking of so many other content ideas just from this one stream. So I'll talk to you the next time. Bye bye.